Hey guys, it's Alex here, and I'm back with Marquee Mix-Ups. So we've had a couple of weeks off due to my moving, but today we've got a little comparison of two players at two clubs for the big Sunday game here. So we've got Chelsea versus Man City today. Obviously we have done Man City before, but I thought we'd sort of use them again for today because we're using Kevin De Bruyne, obviously ex-Chelsea. So today we're going to look at Kevin De Bruyne and Timo Werner swapped over between Chelsea and Man City. So maybe Kevin De Bruyne will unlock Chelsea's ability to win the league. So there he is there. And Timo Werner at Man City, maybe without an injury-prone striker, they might be able to do even better and win the Champions League. Who knows? So we're going to sim a season with them at the regular clubs, and then we'll sim a season with them switched over and compare those two, and then we'll run a few more sims to find some averages and see who performs better at which club. So I'll be back for the first sim. Okay, so we have simmed a season with them at their regular clubs. So De Bruyne at Man City and Werner at Chelsea. And as we can see here, we've got a few stats for them. So Kevin De Bruyne has had a fantastic season, as per usual. 51 appearances, 12 goals, 19 assists, 7 man of the matches, and a 7.52 average rating. So it's kind of what you expect from De Bruyne there. And then Timo Werner, 38 appearances, 20 goals, that's pretty good. 4 assists, he was never going to get many assists. 4 man of the matches and a 7.27 average rating. So both of them have performed pretty well at their respective clubs. Let's have a look at how they've done in the league. So Man City do win the league by 2 points over Liverpool. Chelsea 6 points back in third, so that's not too bad for them. Timo Werner second top scorer behind Sadio Mane. De Bruyne highest on assists and third highest on average rating. Did they win anything? Let's have a look. Player of the year, Mane actually won Player of the Year. Players player was Mane as well. Top goal scorer was Mane as well. So he's had a fantastic season, to be honest. Young player, Trent. Okay, so not much change there. Let's have a look at Man City's squad, see how he's compared. So De Bruyne, he's played the most games. He's got quite high on the goal tally, to be fair. Aguero's got quite a lot. That could be worrying, actually. If Aguero doesn't get injured, he might sort of steal a lot of game time away from Werner there when we swap him over. Assist-wise, obviously, he's top. Phil Foden doing pretty well there as well. And highest average rating in the squad. So not too bad there at all. So let's look at their sort of tournaments. They lost in the Carabao Cup third round to Arsenal. It's a bad start from them. Champions group stage. Oh, they did really poor. Oh god, they did really bad. Did they actually get through? Oh, they didn't get through. They came third in their group. They lost to Ajax, and then they lost to Juventus twice. Then they drew at Ajax. The only team they beat was Club Brugge. So they dropped into the Europa League there. That's really bad. Okay, they beat Paro. That's good. They beat Liverpool in the 4th round. Tottenham in the 5th round. They beat Nice in the first knockout round. They beat Wolfsburg in the 2nd. Beat Wolves in the quarters. And then they got to Napoli, and they lost to Napoli, and then lost to Man United to a Bruno Fernandes goal in extra time. So a poor sort of showing in the cups there. They got to a semi-final in the FA Cup, but that's about it, really. That's quite interesting. Then let's look at Chelsea, see how they did. So let's have a look. So they lost to Wolves in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. They beat Bayern at home to a Timo Werner first-minute goal. They had a tough group, to be fair. I think they got through it, actually. They did. They lost to Wolves as well in the FA Cup in extra time. So they lost to Wolves in both domestic cups, and then they lost to Juventus in Champions League knockouts. So not too good there. But to be fair, both personally had very good seasons. So now let's swap them over and run a sim and see how well they do at the respective clubs. Okay, and now we've swapped them over. De Bruyne is at Chelsea and Timo Werner at Man City. And one big thing sticking out straight away is that Timo Werner only got 18 starts this season and 8 as a substitute. So that's going to really affect him. What I said about Aguero being fit might come to be an issue here. 18 starts for him, 10 goals, 7 assists and 0 man of the match. To be fair, even though he'd started less, he did very well, nearly a goal and assist in each start, pretty much. 7.19 average rating. De Bruyne, he played less games this year, 46 starts, but he did get 15 goals, 18 assists, and 10 man of the match with a 7.65 average rating. So, fantastic season for De Bruyne there. Timo Werner, not so much, even though he did do very well off the bench. Very interesting. Let's have a look at the league and see what happened. So, Liverpool won the league by 3 points over Man City. And then Chelsea third. So Man City actually dropped, so maybe they lost that sort of cutting edge with De Bruyne there. De Bruyne did have the highest average rating at Chelsea and the most assists again, but Timo Werner nowhere to be seen in that goal scoring chart. That's a bit worrying there. Let's actually have a look, see what's happened. So playing wise, who actually has been starting? Jesus at striker, Aguero on the bench. Werner's not even in the squad. That's really bad. Goals wise, Sterling had the most. Aguero did have 29 starts with 15 goals. Then Torres, then Werner, and then Jesus with 20. So Jesus had 20 starts and 13 subs and got 10 goals. And Werner got 18 starts and 10 goals with 8 substitutes. So Werner did much better than him there, but not doing well at all. If we look at him, he only had 5 starts in the Champions League, 9 in the Premier League all year. My God, that's really bad. Assist wise, yeah, nothing. Foden's, I guess, stepping up into that centre mid role. Does that ask to leave? He wants a new contract. So obviously he's had to step up into this sort of De Bruyne role with him gone. So that's quite interesting. Average rating wise, Werner not doing too well. Let's see how they did in the league. They got past Barnsley in the Carabao Cup third round, and in the fourth round. Lost to Bayern, beat Club Brugge, Lazio. I think they got through this year. Got through to the quarters. They lost to Leicester on penalties in the in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. Was Werner even in the squad? He didn't even get started playing this game. Jesus missed the penalty. That's a bit unfair for Werner. FA Cup, they got through to the fourth round, to the fifth round. They had Real Madrid in the first knockout round, but they lost on aggregate 2-1. They got to the FA Cup quarters, and then they lost 1-1 on penalties as well. Did Werner get a game in this either? Nope, not. He didn't even get a game here either. Ederson missed a penalty. I guess he's a penalty taker for him, but Werner's been really sort of shafted here, which is unfortunate. Let's have a look at Chelsea though. De Bruyne smashing it, top goal scorer with Tammy Abraham, highest assists by a long way. Pulisic's did closest with 5, and then average rating, he's so much clear. He's playing a centre mid role, not an attacking playmaker role, but my God, he is destroying there. Let's see how they did. They beat Tottenham in the third round of the Carabao, beat Newport. They seemed like their Champions League group went pretty well for them. We skipped down there. They lost to Arsenal in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Got through the FA Cup to the 5th round. So they lost to Bayern on aggregate in the first knockout round, and then they lost to Bournemouth from a Dominic Solanke goal. Oh my God. And Petr Cech played. He had a 7.9. Oh my God. That's got to hurt. So yeah, not the best either for them, but De Bruyne with a fantastic season individually. But Werner really suffering there. We'll have to see if this is a similar case in the other sims. So what we're going to do now is run 4 more sims of them at their regular clubs, and then 4 more sims with them switched over, and then we can take some averages and look at how well they did over 5 seasons at each club. So I'll be back for that. Okay, so we have simmed 5 seasons now. For both players, and on the screen now you can see 2 graphs of De Bruyne and then of Werner at their respective clubs. So let's start with De Bruyne first. As you can see, his appearances wise pretty similar between the 2 clubs. 49 average for Man City, 48 for Chelsea, so not too bad. But actually when you move into the goals and assists, he's actually done much better at Chelsea. 16 goals on average at Chelsea compared to 12 at Man City. He actually had one season where he had 19 goals in the season, which is nearly top goal scorer levels pretty much, which is a bit mad. And then at an average of 18 assists compared to 17 at Man City. He actually had one season with 24, which I don't know if that ties the record for most assists in a season. It's up there, definitely. Player of the matches as well. He had 11 at Chelsea compared to 7.8 at Man City. And his average rating was actually higher as well, an average of 7.6 compared to 7.5 at Man City. So while De Bruyne did very well at both clubs, but he's actually done much better individually at Chelsea, which could be the fact that he has less players sort of taking the goals and assists away from him, because he's sort of maybe the better player at Chelsea, sort of standout better player compared to when you've sort of got Aguero and Sterling around you at Man City. Now, when we look at Werner, he has really suffered. What we said in the first bit when he said his game time was going to take him by Aguero and Jesus, it happened. The 18 games he played in that first season was actually the most appearances he got throughout all the Sims. One season he got 11. He had an average of 14 starts. He did have quite a lot of substitute appearances, but I'm not really counting them at the moment. So 14 starts at Man City, 43 at Chelsea. And then obviously his goals and assists are going to sort of lower due to that. He had an average of 9.2 goals at Man City and 23 at Chelsea. 4.8 assists at Chelsea compared to 2.8 at Man City. 5.2 player of the matches at Chelsea compared to 0.8. So basically he got one each season except for the first season where he got 0 player of the matches. And then average rating of 7.2 at Chelsea and a 7.1 at Man City, which, to be fair, when you look at it, if he's averaging 14 starts and 9.2 goals and 2.8 assists, that's nearly a goal and assist every game, or goal or an assist each game. So when he plays well. It's just he's not playing at all. So really unfortunate for them. I wonder if we run this sim longer, so maybe run it for 2 or 3 years. If Aguero leaves or Jesus is sold or something like that, Werner might actually start to get much better numbers at Man City. But for the one season simulation, he's really suffered there, which is interesting. So now let's compare how, if we look at the clubs themselves, how each player sort of performed at the clubs. Okay, so now we're going to look at the clubs themselves and which player performed better at each club. So we've got Man City and Chelsea here. So we'll start with Man City. Obviously, these are going to be skewed due to Werner's low playing time. So when you look at it, De Bruyne, 49 appearances on average compared to Werner's 14. Goals-wise, even De Bruyne got more than Werner, 12 on average compared to 9.2. Assist-wise, obviously, 17 to 2.8 is massive. Player of the match is 7.8 to 0.8, and then an average rating of 7.5 to 7.1. It's obvious that De Bruyne did much better at Man City than Werner did. Now, when we look at Chelsea, that's a bit more interesting because obviously they're a lot closer, and actually Werner has appearances to back up his stats here. But to be fair, De Bruyne still had more appearances at Chelsea than Werner. So De Bruyne had 48 compared to Werner's 43. Goals-wise was quite close, actually. De Bruyne averaging 16 goals to Werner's 23. So quite close there. Assist-wise, obviously, 18 to 4.8 in favour of De Bruyne. Man of the match is 11 for De Bruyne compared to 5.2 for Werner, and then average rating 7.6 to 7.2. So it's obvious that De Bruyne individually, statistically, is much better than Werner here. But it's going to be interesting looking at the club honours to see who's actually won more at the clubs, because we'll have a look at sort of the silverware of each player winning at each club. So we'll go on to that now. Okay, so now let's look at the club honours. So how each player achieved what trophies at both clubs. So on the screen we've got a little Excel screenshot of all of their cup victories. So let's look at De Bruyne first. His time at Man City, he actually won 3 Premier Leagues, which is not too bad in 5 seasons, and also got a 3rd place and 4th place finish, which is 4th place is a bit mad for Man City there. That's pretty poor. An FA Cup, he won 2 FA Cups and got to a semi-final. The Carabao Cup, they actually did really poorly. Only 2 quarterfinals out of it, when Man City are normally pretty good in the Carabao Cup. Europa League, not Europa League, in Europe. I say Europa League because they actually dropped into it twice. The first time was in that one we looked at and they got to the quarters, and then the second time they actually dropped out of the group stage but won the Europa League. So I've counted that as half of a trophy, because it's not the main one they were going for. And then they also got to a semi-finals. So overall we had 5.5 trophies. I guess you can count 6. 0 second places and 3 third places, or what I consider third places. Like a semi-final, I consider third place because you're one step back from losing the final. So now let's look at his time at Chelsea. The best he achieved was a third place, 3 fourth places and a 5th place, which is pretty poor when you look at that Chelsea squad. FA Cup, the worst, he didn't do too well, only a semi-final there. The Carabao Cup, he did a bit better, won it, another final and a semi-final. And in the Champions League, they actually got to a final where they lost to Juventus. So not too bad there. So 1 cup win, 2 second places and 3 third places. Now looking at Werner, his time at City was just a lot of second places. He won the league once and came second 4 times to Liverpool, which is just so unlucky for him. Also in the FA Cup, 2 finals and a semi-final. He did win the Carabao Cup twice and got to 2 more semis, and then he also got to the final of the Champions League there. So he had 3 cup wins, 7 second places and 3 third places there. His time at Chelsea, actually, they actually won the league once, which is incredible. Out of all of the sims I've done of all of these marquee matchups, I don't think Chelsea have actually won the league before, which is a bit crazy. 2 third places and 2 fourth places. Got to a final of the FA Cup, won the Carabao Cup and a final and a semi-final, and then in the Champions League they got to a final and a semi-final, and they did drop into the group stage once and got a semi-final, so that counts as half a third place there. But yeah, so overall 2 victories, 3 second places, and 4.5 third places, which is not too bad, to be fair. It's interesting because we sort of saw a similar pattern in the De Bruyne versus Fernandes one, is that overall, De Bruyne did win more competitions, 6.5 competitions there, compared to Werner's 5 over both of them. But Werner did much better at Chelsea than De Bruyne did. And overall, if you look at the overall trophy count, Werner did much better. He did have 7 second places, but he did much better overall in terms of total sort of getting to finals and getting to semi-finals than De Bruyne did. And that's what we saw with Fernandes and De Bruyne. Fernandes was winning much more at Man City and Man United than De Bruyne was, which was interesting because De Bruyne statistically is one of the best players in the game. His stats, his goals and assists are incredible. It might be due to those sort of hidden attributes where sort of maybe he doesn't like the big games, maybe doesn't perform in those really important games. So over the league season where he can do much, like the averages is better. Like he won 3 Premier Leagues with City, that's good. But in sort of finals and semi-finals in these sort of knockout competitions, maybe that's where he sort of stumbles a bit. Or maybe he just doesn't get played, which is why they go out early in the 3rd round and the 4th round. But yeah, maybe that's something to investigate more. But yeah, so that's it really for today. Quite interesting to look at the 2 of them. We're going to be coming back next week for another big game. I think it's Liverpool, Man United, but we're not going to use the same players. The only reason we used De Bruyne again this episode was because of his links to Chelsea. So we're going to be using 2 different players from Liverpool and Man United. So I'll let you guess who they are, and we'll see how things go. It'll be a bit different, I feel, compared to this episode. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's been Alex, and I'll see you guys next time.